Welcome back to Kill Rock Radio here on killrockradio.com. My name is Rocky, as usual, up in this motherfucker trying to carry my ass through the next hour or so, talking about all the crazy shit going on in the world of hard rock and heavy metal. We've got a really full show, so I'm going to get right into this. On this episode of Kill Rock Radio, Ace Frehley is confused, y'all. He's a little confused about what's going on with Kiss these days and their avatars and all that bullshit. We'll see what my boy Ace Frehley has to say about all that. Also, Tommy Lee accused of sexual assault in a helicopter stemming from an incident in 2003. We'll go over that and a little bit of Slipknot news as far as Clown coming out and expanding a little bit about the Jay Weinberg firing, which he verifies, in case you wondered. And then on top of that, we have a fuck ton of messages from y'all. I will absolutely not be able to get to all of them. I apologize ahead of time. I'm just going to take the most crazy shit that y'all said to me, and I'll go over that here in another extended listener comments and all that good stuff. So let's go ahead and get into this Ace Frehley thing. In a new interview with Germany's Rock Antenne, is it Antenna or Antenne? Antenne! Original Kiss guitarist Ace Frehley, when asked about the band's farewell tour, Kiss, for those of you who don't know, are doing their like fucking 43rd farewell tour. At this point, though, they're pretty fucking old. I think they might actually stay away this time. And one thing that makes me think they may stay away is that they've attempted to debut new Kiss avatars that would theoretically allow the band to continue as digital ghosts.
The new Kiss era starts now!
For the next millennia, you'll have fucking Kiss thrusting their sweet diamond encrusted cod pieces via AI generated digital bullshit. And so anyways, Ace was asked about all those things on Rock Antenne. And when he was asked about if he's happy that Kiss is theoretically done, here's what he had to say.
I'm happy it's over because I'm not going to be compared to them anymore.
Glad to not be compared to them anymore. Ace did go on to immediately start talking about the Avatar thing, completely unprompted. So he obviously had a very strong opinion on these Kiss avatars. Check it out.
I don't get this Avatar thing that they're going to do. I mean, I saw some of it on a video on YouTube last night, and it kind of looked like it was, geared towards children.
Yeah.
And it's not rock and roll. No. I get up on stage without backing tracks, plug my guitar into a Marshall and go. That's it. It's always been that way and it always will be.
As Ace Frehley has brought up several times, it would seem that Paul Stanley is singing to track because he just doesn't have the chops anymore to sing a full show. Famously, Paul Stanley on the Howard Stern show had insinuated that Peter Criss and Ace Frehley couldn't hack it anymore either.
They were demanding, quite honestly, that we play with the two original guys, Peter and Ace. And at this point, that would be demeaning to the band and also would give some people confusion. Because if you saw people on stage who looked like Kiss but sounded like that, maybe we should be called Piss.
So it would seem like pretty much the entirety of the band is out of gas. So they needed a way to keep squeezing money out of these motherfuckers from beyond the grave. So they decided to try to make themselves into these weird digital ghosts that are going to live on beyond the band and continue to perform somehow. I don't know if there have been any big steps forward in regards to that technology. There was a hologram Tupac Ronnie James Dio, they've played around with a Ronnie James Dio hologram. But the thing is, in both of those cases, when you watch it, it looks like a fucking video game. It looks like what it is, essentially. This still looks like PS5 shit to me. It is very cartoonish. Ace Frehley mentions that he felt it was more geared to children. I can't imagine that kids would even give a fuck. The music would truly have to come around to the point where kids would want to hang out and listen to Kiss. It's not happening. I'm sure there are some kids out there that listen to Kiss, but the bulk of young kids would not be able to tell you a Kiss song. If there's not new music, then I don't know how the fuck you would plan to bring in kids. So does that mean that we're going to have like AI making music, or do you keep Paul Stanley and them sort of writing music, but not actually performing it? In Kiss's big announcement video for their avatars, Gene said, "Oh, it's going to be the most awesome concert you've ever seen."
To be the best concert you've ever seen.
Once again, unless there have been some big steps forward, the technology is just not there to make a decent show. To me, this is not that many steps above like a Pink Floyd laser show. You know what I'm saying? If anyone's ever been to a Pink Floyd laser show, people say, well, you got to do acid. You would have to do acid to make a Pink Floyd laser show interesting. Now, once again, if you look back to those Ronnie James Dio and Tupac performances, the hologram is projected onto a glass pane, and that allows the character to move around and shit. Now, from certain angles and when the light would hit certain ways, you could see the pane of glass. And on top of it, as I said, it looked like a fucking PS2 game or something. The Tupac at Coachella one looked like fucking GTA San Andreas or some shit. It was not good. And it was not anything that you could be like, oh, it was just like seeing Tupac. And I would assume that this Kiss thing, you could pack as much spectacle into it. At the end of the day, you're watching video games do Kiss. That being said, I've seen people just hang out and watch motherfuckers play Rock Band and stuff just because they like watching the fucking band jam out and stuff. So maybe there would be some audience for that. But knowing Kiss, these motherfuckers are going to try to charge an arm and a leg for you to show up and watch a giant video screen of video game versions of Kiss doing the same fucking songs that they've always done. I would assume you could maybe sync to certain live tracks and shit like that, but really, it sort of is what it is, unless, as I said, you're going to have like AI create new songs, or I don't know how the fuck you're going to go about it. I would think if for some reason this was able to catch on, then Kiss will finally stay retired. But if this don't work, be ready, because those motherfuckers are coming right back out on the road again, because they are the most money hungry motherfuckers I have ever seen in my life. It is never enough. They insist on making money into the grave. From the great beyond, they will still theoretically be on the road.
We can live on eternally.
Now, beyond that, it was really funny because Ace Frehley went on to just totally take a shit on Tommy Thayer, his replacement. Of course, he had negative shit to say about the existing band members, and he tried to do it in a very side-eye, shady sort of way.
Yeah, Tommy Thayer is not a bad guitarist. He just is more mechanical than me. Nobody can copy my solos the way I play them. Nobody can move like me. Nobody. I'm surprised the fans bought Tommy. Pretty much because I think for several years that Tommy was in the band, people didn't even know it wasn't me. Yeah, but I mean, when last tour I did with Kiss, Tommy Thayer was bringing me sandwiches, and he was the tour manager and gopher. But he's not a bad guitar player. I'm actually friends with Tommy,
So he calls Tommy Thayer a gopher. He says he's mechanical. He can never be Ace Frehley. And, you know, Tommy Thayer, I doubt if you were to ask him, he would say, oh, yeah, I'm trying to be Ace. Even though that's a hard thing to say when you're doing an Ace Frehley cosplay. You know what I'm saying? So the Kiss avatars were created by ILM, Industrial Light and Magic. And, you know, not saying it doesn't look cool. It really does look cool. And if you wanted to make weird, like, little cartoons and shit, to me, there's more value out of that because, once again, there's not going to really be any new Kiss music. And if there is, I mean, is it going to be good? Probably not. So I would think the best use of Kiss or the Kiss avatars would be to create some sort of, you know, as Ace Frehley said, something aimed at kids that's more taking advantage of what Kiss looks like. Maybe, you know what would be awesome? Almost like a Death Clock type thing. I don't know, for any of you who haven't seen Death Clock, definitely look that up.
They're called pain waivers. Fans are literally signing their life away, releasing Death Clock from any and all liability.
Well, I got tore out and force-fed to me at a show. Death Clock rule! In London, some dude chopped off my fingers and threw them up on stage. Murderface rolled them up and smoked them! Murderface!
And, you know, you might actually want to look to Death Clock because Death Clock, you know, it's a band that Brendan Small, the mind behind the show, also is the guy playing the fucking guitars and writing the songs, and actually the front man. So I've seen Death Clock live. Now, what they do is the band essentially plays live, but they're not lit. It's almost like if you're going to see a show and the orchestra is in the pit there, they're not lit, you don't see them, but obviously you hear them. And then there's, you know, a giant screen where they're playing the animated versions of those songs.
Front doors! Front doors!
Also, I mean, you don't necessarily want to oversell. There was shit where they had like the band, you know, 10 feet tall hovering over the crowd and, you know, shooting fire out over them and shit. Do you have like the fucking Mysterio type drone projector things to make that shit happen? Or is it going to be like the Dio thing, in which case it's going to be highly unimpressive and nobody's going to give a fuck? I mean, who knows? I don't want to say it's impossible. As we go into the future, you would think eventually this technology will exist to where you can have like actual holograms, almost like Princess Leia, where, you know, it's a projector, but she's essentially a freestanding hologram instead of being something that's projected onto a flat surface but looks 3D. That's not, to me, that's not going to be worth a shit. So if Kiss is going to come with that shit, they got to do something way, way, way over the top to make it worth what you know these motherfuckers are going to charge for it. So Ace Frehley might think it's fucking stupid. I kind of think it's stupid too, but I am looking forward to what they're gonna do with it, because it's clear they've put a lot of work into it. These are well done. When asked about the show, Pop House CEO Per Sundin, who is actually, Pop House is the company that's putting it on. They're doing a digital show right now for ABBA called ABBA Voyage, which I have not seen, and I don't know what the fuck it is. He says, when asked about what the show's gonna be, he says, quote, "Is it a Kiss concert in the future? Is it a rock opera? Is it a musical? A story? An adventure? These four individuals already have superpowers. We want to be as open as possible." The avatars are going to be available for live shows around the world and in digital online settings, which some people collectively refer to as the metaverse. Which is that the Oculus thing? So, you know, that would be interesting if you were watching a concert via like an Oculus. So it is all being pumped into your brain directly. So I'm sure that would be kind of a cool thing. But once again, how much can you really charge for that? It's live content, which is very cool. You can kind of do it once. Then what? Is there going to be new music? Is there going to be AI music? I guess we'll see how shit goes. We will keep you up to date on what's going on in the world of Kiss avatars. Moving on. Next, we have a story about Motley Crue drummer Tommy Lee, who has been accused of sexual assault in a helicopter. This new lawsuit alleges that Tommy Lee sexually assaulted a passenger referred to as Jane Doe aboard a private helicopter in '03. This happened a good while ago. Obviously, he's not outside that statute of limitations. Or is this maybe, you know what, maybe this is actually part of the new Marilyn Manson law, where you add more time to that statute of limitations? You know, that may be the case. If so, that's funny that Marilyn Manson would be such a fucking degenerate that he clears the path for Tommy Lee to get sued for sexual assault back in '03. So basically, this whole thing centers around a guy named David Martz, who was the pilot of the helicopter. Basically, when Martz invited this woman to take a ride on his helicopter, she thought he was essentially just offering her a ride. So she claims that when she showed up, when Tommy Lee was there, she was sort of like, what the fuck, you know? So she jumps on the helicopter anyway, and she claims that within minutes of becoming airborne, Martz had quote, pulled out alcohol he had stored in the helicopter and began to mix drinks. The complaint goes on to claim that Martz and Lee, in addition to drinking up in the fucking helicopter, also snorted coke and smoked weed. Tommy Lee must be a dumb motherfucker. I got no problem. If you're Tommy Lee, you got a private helicopter, you want to fucking snort coke and smoke weed and drink beers and shit up at that level, that sounds really fun and cool. But why in the fuck would you allow your pilot to also be drinking and doing coke and smoking weed with you? That is fucking insanity, dude.
You're gonna die, you dingy little fuck.
I can't even imagine. So the plaintiff claims that she was lured into the cockpit and that she was pressured to do drugs with Lee and Martz. Now, an allegation from the complaint, quote, at one point, Lee penetrated plaintiff with his fingers while fondling her breasts. Lee then pulled down his pants and attempted to force plaintiff's head towards his genitals. By this point, plaintiff was in tears, but she had nowhere to go. She was trapped with little mobility to leave the cockpit. This is something that is known back in Philadelphia as the implication.
Well, dude, think about it. She's out in the middle of nowhere with some dude she barely knows. There's nowhere for me to run. What am I gonna do, say no?
That seems really dark.
No, it's not dark. You're misunderstanding me, bro. Because if the girl said no, then the answer obviously is no.
No.
But the thing is she's not gonna say no. She would never say no because of the implication.
So basically, she was stuck in this situation where she felt there was an implication that shit might go wrong if she did not go along with what was going on. To clarify, the lawsuit accuses Lee of, quote, forcibly groping, kissing, and penetrating the plaintiff with his fingers and attempting to force her to perform oral copulation. So to this allegation, she did not blow him. He pushed her, but did not force her. But she claimed to have not been down with the fingering. So she really is saying she wanted nothing to do with that shit, but he came after her. I could imagine if you've ever been around people that are on cocaine, man, they fucking are in your face. So I could imagine Martz and Lee are clearly up there partying their asses off. They've got a lady, they got her up there, and they just say, fuck it, we're going to be like pirates up here. And apparently the woman was not down. Now, one part of this that really makes me sort of generally believe this woman's story is that Martz, the pilot, has lost his license 3 times over the course of his career. Most recently in 2009, after being found to have received oral sex from a porn star named Puma Sweet, who I remember, she was quite sultry. He was flying the helicopter while she was blowing him. That's the last time he had his license revoked. So the idea of him getting up there, having drinks, doing coke, smoking weed, expecting this chick to like let them have a free-for-all on her, that sounds like some shit this guy would do. Of course, you can't sue him because he's fucking dead. He died while piloting a plane which crashed in Santa Barbara County. At the time of his death, he had no medical clearance to fly and was under investigation for falsifying FAA documentation in relation to 2 drink driving convictions. So the plaintiff's story seems to really jazz with how this motherfucker lived his life. I don't know, based on Martz and then what people think about Tommy Lee, which of course that doesn't make you guilty, and it's not fair that people judge you based on the shit you've done in the past. However, normally the shit you've done in the past is shit you would be likely to do in your present and future, lest someone call your ass out on it. So who knows? Maybe, you know, Tommy Lee, maybe you get this idea that like, you know, fuck it, we're up here. She knows what the deal is. We're all partying. I'm coming after her. I'm going to, you know, lean in, start making out with her. And maybe as far as he was concerned, it was all consensual and all that shit. But you know what? This woman says it was not. And so Tommy Lee might have to pull that checkbook out and write a big check to this woman. And to the people out there, I know people will hear this story and be like, Tommy Lee's fucking awesome for, you know, having such a rock star ass life. But I will say, if you're gonna do shit like this, like if you want to go out on a boat and just fucking do rails of coke and fucking hit a bong and all that shit, go out to international waters and all that good shit, go do that shit. But don't drive, and do not let your driver get into that shit. That's dumb as fuck.
You fucking income fucking poop.
Out in the water, up in the air, shit goes wrong. Like, you're in serious ass trouble. So to people out there, don't fuck around like that. Anyways, moving on. So just an update, a story we've reported on. We had talked about when Jay Weinberg, now former drummer for Slipknot, was fired. So there's no new news as far as who the new drummer is going to be. But my boy Clown has come out and spoken on the firing of Jay Weinberg, and I quote, "We are completely in reflection mode, and reflection can bring tears. Reflection can bring smiles. Reflection can bring energy. Now we are in a place that we never imagined we would be 25 years on. We're standing really strong and we're better as people. I think all of us are really, really happy about what we're creating, to the point that we're scared a little bit. That fear is what we live for, and that's what we've always done. That's why we're still here. We've moved away from things that don't belong, and we are continuously moving away from what is in the way." Now, if you're a former Slipknot member and the fucking head shot caller came out and said, we've moved away from things that don't belong. Imagine if you're Jay Weinberg, lifelong Slipknot fan who gave them 10 fucking years, and now they came out and say, we've moved away from things that don't belong.
You fucker! You fucking bitch!
I'll continue. There are no hard feelings. There's no anger or hate. Nobody's wrong. No one's mad. It's just that we're very aware of us. If you're a Slipknot fan, then you know what that means. The future is very, very exciting. I'm excited because no one really knows what we're capable of, as usual. As far as Jay goes, what people need to know is Jay did not leave the band. So he's making a point to say, listen, in case you thought he left on his own accord, fuck no, that motherfucker got fired. We get the point. I'll continue. Like the statement said, we're choosing to do something different. This space that we're at right now is a very, very special space, thought about and generated mostly by the OGs.
That was the biggest load of crap I've ever heard.
And by that, he's referring to himself, Corey Taylor, Mick Thompson, Sid Wilson, and Jim Root, of course. I haven't read a lot of Sean Crahan's comments in the past, but man, this came off like super pompous. If you felt that maybe Jay couldn't hack it, as some people have said, you owe it to the band to have the best motherfucker there as far as you're concerned. But at the same time, to all this like, oh, we're so happy. And by the way, in case you didn't know, that motherfucker got fired. And, everything's so special right now. What we're doing is so great. Who the fuck feels that way about their work? Like most artists I know, the creation of a piece is like, oh, fuck, this is awful, this is awful, this is awful, this is awful, and you hate it, and you hate it, and you're thinking about giving up, and you're thinking about scrapping the fucking thing, and then you finish it, and you're like, man, this came out awesome. But they're not even done, and this motherfucker's telling you how great everything is, how special everything is, and how aware of themselves they are. Oh, it's pretty clear how aware of themselves they are. If there's some sort of in-joke I'm missing, I guess let me know. But generally, this came off sounding like shit. Anyways, as I said, there has been no new drummer announced. When this drummer does get announced, I'm sure that's going to be a really big tell as to what those guys are trying to do going forward. And we will keep you up to date on that. Anyways, moving on. All right, I'm going to go ahead and get to some of these comments. info@killrockradio.com is where you would send any emails if you have anything you want me to talk about or any general comments, questions, whatever the fuck. info@killrockradio.com. Or just get up in our DMs, comment on our videos, any of that shit, and I will respond. There was a big response to the Phil Anselmo Nazi whitewashing thing. And there was also a big response to Latte Joy, the furry who got punched in the fucking face out there in Austin. Really, all my comments are about one or the other. So I guess I'm going to do the Phil stuff first, because it's kind of fucked up and heavy. There were far too many comments to get to. Some of them were completely inappropriate. I try to censor this shit as little as possible. I mean, there are some comments I try to approve that fucking YouTube just straight up won't let me because they're so fucked up. I'm not even going to say that shit out loud, but what I have here is fairly outlandish. So let's go ahead and get into it. Somebody who has no fucking name, they're essentially anonymous, says, "Don't hate on being a racist." And my homie Andrew B. Clinton says, "Is it that wrong to be a racist? There's an awful lot of racists that people consider heroes. Gandhi, Nelson Mandela, Che Guevara, Malcolm X. I have to admit, most of the racism I've seen in my lifetime has come from the left. The only color I care about is the color of money. There's only two races, the Scots and everyone else." Which, that does bring up the greatest race war of all time, which is Scots versus Scots. You see a lot of this sort of rationalization of racism. I've always thought racism was just like completely fucking stupid. So, I mean, of course there are differences between us all, but that shit is cultural, dude. And if you're caught up on that, like, you're just worried about the wrong shit. And I'm not even talking about, everybody talks about the left and the right. I'm not talking about none of that shit. I'm saying straight up, if you're overly concerned about race, I don't give a fuck who you are. You're concentrating on the wrong shit. And that's it. It's not a matter of hating on it or whatever. It's like, it's a waste of energy. It's a waste of time. There's so much, polarized politics. At this point, politics are like fucking sports in the United States of America. Nobody gives a fuck about individuals. Nobody has their own fucking ideas. It's all just team red, team blue. It's just how deep is your red and how deep is your blue. You know what I'm saying? Mr. Belmont Kane says Phil is just a ball breaker and troll. He has been doing Nazi salutes for 30 years. He was practically the original dark humor edgelord. It's not serious, and anyone bitching about it needs a smack. Mr. Blonde says Phil said to beat up Dimebag and vaporizer him from existence. In Metal Hammer, just a month before Dime was murdered on stage by a deranged concert goer. This is not Pantera. It's Rex and Phil. Dimebag Daryl and Vinnie Paul were, are, and always will be Pantera. Really, he's referring to, of course, the Metal Hammer interview where Phil said something about like Dimebag needed to be beaten severely or whatever. And that interview is kind of the crux of why Vinnie Paul said he would never forgive Phil and shit like that. Listen, when you lose your brother in the way that Vinnie lost his brother, it's got to be such a raw nerve situation. I'm sure it was a raw nerve for him till his dying day. But to have this guy out there that advocated somebody fucking your brother up, and then somebody comes out and murders your brother on stage, I could see the leap that Vinny took in kind of almost blaming Phil. But at the same time, how the fuck? I mean, Phil's a dude who just says shit. Once again, this goes back to the Nazi thing, the white wine power thing, the whole fucking deal. Phil Anselmo, just as the previous message said, it has a very dark humor. He is an edgelord. He's, some people say he's a douche. Some people say he's a dumb fuck. He just says shit. And for a large portion of his career, he's been addicted to opiates in one way or another. And who's never said dumb shit like that? Has anyone never been in a fight? You had a friend, something goes wrong, he fucks your girlfriend while you're out of town or whatever. And you're like, you know what? Fuck you, bro. Somebody should beat his ass. Or maybe you get someone and say, oh man, could you go beat this motherfucker's ass? Yes. You know what I'm saying? Like, that happens. And maybe you don't mean it. Maybe you're just mad in the moment. But if you're never going to forgive Phil for the dumb shit he said to Metal Hammer, really, are you that different than the person who refuses to forgive Phil for the dime bash? It's the same thing. You're like punishing someone infinitely for just some dumb shit they said. You could look at all this and say, man, Phil says a lot of dumb shit. He's a stupid asshole. I fucking hate him. And that would be reasonable. But at the same time, it's not, I don't think it's he should suffer for eternity. Next, my homie Wyanopo, whatever the fuck. It's not just Phil. I've seen shit where the metal media has gone after Dime for his Confederate flag on his guitar, and I guess he said the N-word, and I have no idea in what context. I mean, they even have a song in Vulgar, No Good, Attack the Radical, that is talking about how racism is bad, but they'll never mention that. You ask about the Dimebag N-word thing. It's another one of these stupid fucking things that people take out of context and they try to brand Dimebag forever. Dimebag was at an event. Think of like a NAMM sort of thing. And somebody brings him a guitar to autograph. And Dime had this rule that basically he wasn't going to sign your guitar unless you could shred. He wasn't just going to sign a motherfucker's guitar who doesn't play guitar, because he wanted it for the fans. So Dimebag said and somebody caught him on camera, he said, if the N-word can't jam, he ain't getting something like that, something along those lines. But the guy he's referring to was another white dude. So I don't buy that shit. I don't believe that when you catch two white guys calling each other the N-word, that's not racism. What the fuck? It's just two people being stupid and fucking around. There's a lot of people who, and it could come from ignorance. And I don't mean deep hatred, racism type ignorance. I just mean generally not knowing how sensitive the situation is. So you do it. But yeah, he was clearly not saying anything that was pointed in a racist way. It's one of those things where just the simple existence of the word there is what automatically makes him a racist. The Confederate flag, we've talked about it a billion times. It's the South, dude. People in the South, until very recently, had no beef with the Confederate flag whatsoever. Right or wrong, it's just how it's been. That has changed a lot. Nowadays you don't ever see that shit out, really. And the song, several people refer to that song, and you can look up the lyrics. I'm not going to read it or anything like that. But that's a good example. Not only are there not racist Pantera lyrics, if anything, there's several anti-racism Pantera lyrics. But I've even heard shit like that used against Phil, because in those lyrics, it's sort of saying that really anyone who uses race as a crutch or as a tool or whatever is a piece of shit. And I agree with that. People are like, well, why does he have to make a point to say all races? Shut the fuck up, dude. It's his writing. It's anti-racism. It's anti-hate, all that shit. So what's the fucking problem? My homie Fuzzy Bunny says Phil equals SCUM. Embarrassing human. Next, Sprinkled Donuts says you should have seen the whole video. He was being heckled. I've never seen the full Dime Bash video, but several people have said that you can see the little moments where Phil is being heckled. Who knows? Phil said that happened. I could see that happening. I don't know. I don't have any full verification like I do from Doug Pinnick with the White Wine Power story. Next, C Jam Productions. As a minority, all I hear is white lives don't matter. Whites shouldn't exist. White people can't wear braids and literally get attacked. Okay. Whenever I read a message where it's like, as a minority, and dude, I really doubt, I can't fucking believe. When I hear that, I automatically think of like a white dude on the other side of that typing it out. You know what? Give my words some weight. I'm going to say, you know what? I'm a black guy. Or what, you know, as a minority. Like, what are you, fucking Irish? I don't fucking know. But I couldn't get through your message. Listen, I truly am a minority. And I've never heard any of that stuff. At my monthly minority meeting, I've never heard white lives don't matter. Whites shouldn't exist. Next, my homie Mewtwo says, I like how he's trying to use examples from other people and metal music. You ever think that maybe they're racist too? And he continues, sounds like you're defending this. I'm not defending Phil Anselmo throwing a fucking Hitler salute and all that shit. I say that's fucking stupid. I say he deserved to get his ass kicked for that. But what I'm also saying is that he apologized and there's been no issues since. And it's been several years. So could you not forgive the motherfucker? Like if a guy, you know, let's say he, in a moment, he goes ape shit. He fucking slaps his wife in the fucking face, right? That's fucked up. That's a fucked up thing to do. Let's say he goes to jail. You should go to fucking jail. Let's say, you know, a couple days later he gets out and he's like, fuck, man, I'm so sorry. And like years and years go by and he never shows any other occurrence of this. You could assume that he's a changed man. So, I mean, however you feel about the fucking Hitler salute, the white power, all that shit, regardless of how you feel about that, he apologized for doing it. There's been no other issues. So once again, is he to suffer indefinitely? I'm not defending what he did. I'm just saying, God damn, like, can we move past this shit? Next, my homie Justin Fantastic says, hey, all the peeps crying about racist, they're racist, bro. Rest of us don't think that way or see the world that way. Grow up, dude, and stop being a pansy. It does happen a lot of times when someone accuses another person of racist shit. Normally the person doing the accusation takes a lot of like leaps that make you say like, man, you've got racist shit in your brain. I've always felt, you know, racism, that's a very heavy thing to throw at somebody. And I see a lot of people who throw it around very flippantly. And I think that's fucked up. Next, my homie Clayton Jones says, Phil don't give a fuck what people think. That's why he's doing the fucking tour. As for the reason, it's a fucking cash grab. Taking advantage of this stupid generation that lives in the fucking 90s. Also, every fucking band that ever played is back on tour, whether the heart and soul is not even alive or not. I absolutely agree. It is a cash grab. But I also feel like, you know, it was an opportunity to play big venues and shit like that. And having seen the new show and having seen the old show with, of course, the Abbott brothers, not saying it's the same, but it's a really good fucking show. And it still stands up to pretty much anything I've seen recently in terms of live music. So if they can still fucking go like that, why not? Why would you not do this tour And, I felt a little weird because I didn't originally feel like they would go by Pantera. And it's weird to me that they are going by Pantera. But they have like little video breaks, with tribute to the brothers and all that shit. And regardless of how you feel about Phil and Rex making this money, or Zach or Charlie or whoever the fuck, when you're an artist, like, the way you can live forever, the greatest tribute to you is to continue to enjoy your art and to still put it out there. So I feel like this is something that, like, we're still caught up in issues of the living. Vinny and Dime are gone, man. And this is the only way we keep that legacy alive. Because with this tour, I've gotten so many messages from younger people who were like, man, I never would have been able to see this before. And I know it's not the same thing, but it's as close as we're going to get. And that is in fact the case. Next, Dan Lagar says, Phil sucks. The one that ruined Pantera was Phil being a heroin junkie. Fuck Phil. If not for him, we would still have Dime and Vinny. He's out gaining profit of Pantera after he fucked it all up. I once again don't understand why anyone thinks that Phil Anselmo is the reason that Dimebag or Vinny died of natural fucking causes. Was Phil the one out there fucking forcing Vinny to live his life the way he lived it? I mean, that motherfucker lived it on 10. And he hung that motherfucker all the way into the grave. I respect him for it, but he died of natural causes. Phil had nothing to do with that. Someone said, well, he died of a broken heart. But I mean, grow the fuck up. And Dime, that's not Phil's fault that there's insane fucking idiots out there. Anyways, several people brought up that I said 2016 was almost 10 years ago. Dude, we're about to flip into 2024, so that's like 8-ish years. Yeah, even if you say 7, I mean, to me, 7 is near 10. I'm rounding up. I'm just saying, I said we were approaching the 10-year anniversary within a couple years. That sounds close to me, sir. Next, my homie Tuna Sardine says, it's true. Dude is running a cover band off the backs of the Abbott brothers. Dude is a racist prick. Here's the thing. Phil wrote those fucking songs. I understand musically the Abbott brothers were the engine of that band. But Phil wrote those fucking songs. It's not a cover band when you're singing your songs. Zach Wilde did love Dimebag. There's nothing bullshit to him saying that he's out here trying to fucking do a tribute to Dime. Charlie loved Vinny. It all makes perfect sense to me. And I've seen the show, as I said. It's a great fucking show. There's nothing wrong with it. Go enjoy yourself. Thomas Chesser says, Phil and Rex are bums. This tour is just for money because they're probably broke. Phil and Rex quit Pantera in 01. Vinny and Dime are gone. This tour is blasphemy. Fuck Phil and Rex. I could see them having run out of money. It had been a long time since they had been cashing them big dick checks. So yeah, I mean, to say it's a cash grab, it's a sellout. Listen, you got to make a fucking living, especially as you get older. So anyways, next, Evangeline says, Phil Anselmo is a massive, unlikable edgelord meathead and probably a raging narcissist. But he's definitely not a Nazi or a racist of any kind. He's just really bad at jokes. Fair enough. Next, Crazy 8 Drums. What kind of putty are you that you are shocked at some vulgar display of imagery, but not shocked at the tremendous amount of Satan involved in music? Aren't you putties obsessed with anger and violence and mean-sounding music? Are you throwing a shit fit over this? Retarded.
Shut your goddamn ass up.
Why would I be concerned about the tremendous amount of Satan involved in music if I'm talking about hard rock and heavy metal? I am shocked and appalled at the lack of Satan in my current hard rock and heavy metal. I want more. But in 2024, let's try to kick up our production levels on Satan ass fucking music to 3-4x of our current output of satanic ass music. Next, Sam Hain says, you'd be surprised how many Mexicans are down with Pantera, pero puro pinche mosh pit, which is fucking right on, because I discovered Pantera when I was living down on the Texas-Mexico border. Some of my earliest Pantera memories You know, because on the border, you live essentially like you're a fucking adult from the time you're like 13, 14 years old. So I remember being out in the middle of fucking nowhere, out in the monte, as they say. You know, just being out there with my buddies, you know, pounding beers, smoking weed, all that shit. And Pantera coming on, and you just getting so fucking hype, looking at each other and be like, dude, let's go to fucking Mexico. Bam! Next thing you know, we're firing on down the fucking highway, blasting Far Beyond Driven. It was the soundtrack to most of the debauchery in my young life. I went to high school in Laredo, Texas, which is like literally over 90% Hispanic. And every motherfucker loved Pantera. The preps loved Pantera. The jocks loved Pantera. The weirdos, the artists, every motherfucker loved Pantera. And I'll end the Pantera / Phil comments with Chris Reese, who says, nobody should be judged by their color, but you're leaning real hard into the anti-racist shit in this video. Pull up your pants and wipe your lips off. Tyrone and his crew are finished with you, race baiter.
This is what happens when you fuck a stranger in the ass.
So, Chris, I'm assuming you didn't even watch the video, because had you watched it, then you would see that I was defending someone who had been accused of racism. If you did watch it, and this is still your take, then that tells me that your comprehension is so astonishingly low. To explain it to you is pointless. Clearly, you do not have even 2 fucking brain cells to rub together. And how do you know about Tyrone and my group sex sessions?
So fucking horny, dude! Well, then, dude, suck that shit! Oh, yeah!
If that's my preference, then that's what a motherfucker gonna do. But yes, thank you, Chris. Fucking continue listening, I guess. But you know what? Let's not even fuck with that. Let's turn to something, I was going to say lighter, but the story itself is fucking terrible. But after the last episode, I did get a lot of contact from the furry community. Man, I can't fathom how evil motherfuckers must be to y'all in the real world, because I didn't think I was being like overly, you know, ass kissing or anything. And many of y'all were like, God damn, man, thanks for not just making fun of us and shit. Listen, I'm into surrealism. I love the absurd. If I'm out there, I want to see motherfuckers with mascot heads and shit on. I'm into chaos. Dude, wear costumes. I encourage everyone, wear whatever type of costume. You like horror? Dress up as Chucky just one day. Go to fucking work. Who cares? Wear a goddamn Nightmare on Elm Street glove just in your life. We all know this shit is over anyways. Have some fucking fun. God damn. But yeah, so I'm a fan of the furry. And so let's see what the furries had to say. First, not so positive. Leg Bacola says furries are gross. I thought about this. I watched, I did go watch some furry porn. I didn't like jack off to it or anything. I don't know that I would tell you if I did or not. but I did watch a little, and I was really thinking to myself, like, I didn't catch a bone, just, you know, whatever. But it's like, could I jack off if I'm in the moment? I mean, the woman was very attractive. I couldn't tell because of the furry head, but from the neck down, she's an attractive nude lady.
Good enough for a poke.
I mean, look, it's not standard, but here's people. Let's say you are somebody who can look into those cartoon eyes and get a raging boner. Well, thank God there's this community, because you can meet a hot lady who, you know, is wearing a raccoon head. You just fuck the shit out of her and you'll just, you know, have a great time.
What's the matter with them Americans? We get more pussy than they do.
That's amazing. Like, you're one of very few people who found another one of very few people. That's really cool. I think, I don't know, maybe I'm super fucked up. Anyways, the White Picket Fence says, very surprising to see someone who's actually okay with furries. A welcome surprise. Eric the Dad says, all the furry hate drives me insane. They're not hurting anyone. They're having fun, expressing themselves and fitting in how they can. I support furries, no matter how cringe they are. That's all I'm saying. If you see furries out in the world, that probably took a lot to get them to get dressed up and go out in the world knowing people are going to fucking look at you weird. Even if you want to go sit in the corner with your homies, just talk mad shit and be like, oh, look at these fucking idiots, stupid motherfuckers and all that shit. Go talk shit in your corner and leave them the fuck alone. Let the night unfold. Maybe something insane happens by the end of the night. Maybe you have a fucking story to tell. You know what I'm saying? Like, everyone's so fucking boring. Everything the same, every day the same. Just what kind of life is that? Anyways. Next, Zombie Sam G says, happy to see someone that isn't hating. Just gotta say the furries I'm around are not always in their suits day to day, and some don't even have one nor want one. Some only get art or less. Props to the furries that wear their suits a shit ton. They are just as hot / heavy, if not hotter / heavier than the mascot suits. Great vid, they didn't deserve to be punched. No one trying to have genuine fun at a concert should be treated this way. Next, Ulf Hednar says open season, which I guess is some sort of threat towards the furries. But next, my homie Siberia says it's crazy to see grown adults who still have the impulse control of children. That's what I never understood about crowd killers. It's almost like, anyone see that episode of The Simpsons where Lisa Simpson discovers that it's like a certain pheromone that reacts between the nerd and the bully, which makes the bully act without thinking? It must be something like that, because when you see shit like that, it makes no sense. And it's always either if somebody's like laughing and dancing in the mosh pit area, if there are girls, some dumb fucking idiot like takes it as some sort of weird personal insult. How dare girls go into the pit? How dare those motherfuckers just dance and laugh? This is war. It's like, dude, you're taking this shit way too seriously. And if you're older than like 16 and you have that mindset, like, you need to really fucking check yourself, because you are straight stupid. That is like such low level thinking. The only explanation would be immaturity. Next, Salem Menderavem, I think. Happy you are not hating on furries. What's to hate about? Next, Euzion says, I love the it's a lifestyle and there's porn of it instead of ew, gross fetish thing people do. Dude, the stuff we all do around sex is so fucking weird. To judge any of it is complete hypocrisy. Like, imagine, okay, what if, a lot of people know role playing is very common. If I go and I dress up like a policeman to show up at my girlfriend's house, and I come in and I'm like, miss, I'm going to take you to jail unless you take care of this. And I just pull my turgid bone out.
Calm down, girl.
And then let's say you just have like the most awesome sex of your life. You still dressed up in a costume and played out this fake fantasy, whatever. And that's very common. What if I want to fuck a big-titted fox?
I don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
Look, that's not a thing that exists out in the world. You don't have to worry about a guy doing like bestiality on all the local big-titted foxes. That's not a thing. But if I see a cool picture of a big-titted fox and I want to jack off to it, what's the harm? Next, Tom John says, I don't mind until you start wearing it to school, etc., messing with other people, expecting them to accept your ridiculous hobby or whatever it is. Next, Salem Cripple says, as a furry, nobody lives their life dressed as a mascot. Those suits are super expensive, hard to put on, take off, uncomfortable as hell. You might wear it to a con or out in public every now and again, but it's definitely not an everyday thing. It's no different than any other passion or interest. I'm also a metalhead. I listen to it, go to shows, play the guitar, but my whole life doesn't revolve around that one thing. Try talking to a furry sometime. You might be surprised that we're just normal people. I've never met a goddamn furry. Talking to y'all right now, it's first furries I ever talked to, as far as I know. Job's face, whatever the fuck this is. They replied, this is a question I wondered about after watching the furry porn. How do you go about scraping the cum out of your fur? These are expensive outfits. if you're having intercourse in them, because like, okay, from the stuff I saw, either you're nude with just the head on, or there's special suits where there's like from the thigh up to like the belly button is missing. If I pulled out and jacked off, I mean, it would get everywhere. And I would think in fur, not that I've like come on a teddy bear. That sounds awful. Not that I've come on a teddy bear, but I have like spilled stuff on teddy bears and things that are the texture of teddy bears. And if it dries, it gets very hard and it's very hard to get out. And I would think if you tried to comb it out or something like that, it would probably kind of fuck up the suit. So I did wonder that, like, not in a jokey way, like, how do you get the cum out of your fur? But Chris Rage NJ says the Furry was at a hardcore show, not a metal show. Different rules about crowd killing, bro. If you can't handle the heat, stay at the bar with the old men. A Furry at a hardcore show is asking to get punched. I'm trying to think. Like, I recently went to a hardcore show, and it was a straight mosh from the front to the back, and it was intense, and people were throwing their arms around and shit like that. But like, I mean, to me, it wasn't like a Wild West, everybody punching each other in the face. To me, I saw a lot of people with their heads down, just throwing, you know, like windmilling and shit like that. And I almost don't even consider that fighting. What happened to Latte Joy? This motherfucker saw Latte, ran up, reared back, and punched that motherfucker right in the face. I can't imagine anyone goes to a show to get punched in the fucking face. Have you been punched in the face? It sucks. If you invited me to like an awesome orgy with some of the most gorgeous women in the world, and you said, but the thing is, first thing, this dumb motherfucker has to punch you in the face, I'd say, fuck that. I'll just hang out, wait for the next opportunity, I guess. But yeah, I saw several hardcore motherfuckers stepped up. And we're talking about how tough they were and how fucking, you don't get in the pit if you're not ready to get hit or, shit like that. Because like, if you're a metal fan, I'm sure, a lot of you have been in that situation where you're hanging out with this one person and like, oh dude, I love the mosh. And then they start telling you all these stories about all these people. This dude was like 6'5". I fucking nailed him in the face. He went right down, bro. See, it's not 'cause you're so tough and awesome. It's 'cause that guy was there to watch a show and he didn't expect someone to run up and punch him in the fucking face. That's why. It's not 'cause you're some fucking gladiator. It's 'cause you're an asshole. You're a sucker punching asshole.
It smells like the asshole!
Like I said, a hardcore show, people head down, windmilling. You jump in that, you gotta know what's up. Nobody expects to just get slugged in the fucking face. In the comments, tell me if you go to a show like, fuck yeah, I'm looking to get knocked the fuck out. No, who would do that? If there are people who do that, I would suggest we have a giant hardcore show. We put it in the advertising, most brutal pit ever. You will get knocked the fuck out. The people who show up, gas the fucking building and walk off and high five each other. It just makes no goddamn sense to me. What is your life all about? Anyways, and to add on, Mr. Blonde 66 Milky Way says hardcore's for posers. Next, Just Cyan said, bro, I'm trying not to laugh. Obviously, this dude needs to go to prison, but I'm not surprised at all. A lot of people take moshing to the next level, but wearing a furry suit to a mosh pit is like wearing a Trump outfit to a rap concert. Not a Kanye one either. Something is going to happen to you. I know I'm being mega negative, but bruh, common sense. This was in Austin, and Austin kind of prides itself on little weird, absurd shit. So maybe that's why Latte Joy felt okay. There's a million different scenarios. You know what I'm saying? I don't blame Latte. I blame the dumb motherfucker who sees someone in a dog costume and says, oh, I'm going to knock this motherfucker out. Why? What for? And we're going to go ahead and end it on that. That was it. Thank you guys so much. Once again, info@killrockradio.com or get up in our DMs on any of our socials, and I will get back to you in some way, shape, or form. Thank you to the Kill Rock Radio listeners. We will keep this conversation going next time. Until then, I will talk to you crazy motherfuckers later. Peace.
Got any questions or comments? Send them to info@killrockradio.com. To keep up with the latest and catch up on past interviews and clips, search Kill Rock Radio on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Subscribe to Kill Rock Radio wherever you listen to podcasts. I'm like, oh my God, just listen to it already. Wherever you listen to podcasts.